Welcome to Heads vs. Feds, where the ultimate odd couple give their take on the day's news stories. I'm Steve Hager, former editor-in-chief of High Times Magazine.
And I'm Bob Stutman, former special agent in charge of DEA New York.
Well, normally we do drug war news stories, Bob, but this is 2012, and you know, some of our fans have been asking us if we might give some reviews. I thought today we could talk about Game Change.
I'm not sure we'd have a different perspective. I thought the book was amazing. I'm a political junkie, as you know, Steve. Probably the best book I have ever read on politics. The movie was great. Julianne Moore as Sarah Palin looked so much like her and acted so much like her. She actually made Tina Fey look bad, which is difficult. The book was very accurate. I know people who were there. The movie very much followed the book. I was surprised, honestly, how sympathetic you felt towards Sarah Palin, certainly for the first half of the movie.
The book is really about the campaign and goes in great detail on Obama and the Clintons and dishes a lot of dirt in a lot of different places. And the movie kind of just focused really on Sarah.
Right. The book was half and half. Half Democrat campaign, half Republican campaign. And you're right, probably more dirt on the Clintons versus the Obama versus John Edward. The most dirt was actually on John Edward and the late Mrs. Edwards. The reason they did the movie that way, it was a 2-hour movie, and for basically, I think it was 60 or 75 days, it was the most intense story you could tell that you could fit into 2 hours.
I also think it would have been a little uncomfortable for them to put that kind of a spotlight on a sitting president, what they did to Sarah Palin. I mean, one of the interesting things to me was, before this movie came out, Steve Schmidt and his crew, they all saw it, and they thought it was great, and they said this is 100% accurate.
Well, Steve Schmidt and Nicole Wallace.
Steve Schmidt, yeah. And then on the other side, McCain and Palin refused to look at it, refused to talk about it, and just assumed that this was some kind of hatchet job or whatever. But the reality is that the villain is Steve Schmidt, in my opinion. You know?
I mean, I'm not sure I would use the word villain. He did what he was supposed to do. He felt bad about it afterwards. I thought the most powerful piece in the film was when Nicole Wallace, who is a diehard Republican, as you know, worked for Bush for many years, when she said at the end, I couldn't even vote for them. I thought that was such a powerful statement. And both Steve Schmidt and Nicole Wallace said the movie was absolutely accurate. I think Steve Schmidt's words were, it was so accurate, it was chilling.
What was kind of stunning to me, though, was the fact that, okay, they found this woman, they picked her off YouTube. She had remarkable communication skills. Yep. She became an icon overnight. She was the engineer that was running the train because it was her personality. Yep. And instead of them bonding around her, they got into a very hostile relationship because she wasn't smart enough to hang out with them. I thought that was incredibly callous of these people. The minute in that movie where she reaches over and touches the face of that child with Down syndrome,
on the rope line.
There's nothing you can say bad about her after that. She becomes the most sympathetic character in the world. She had a good heart, and she liked to play fast and loose with the facts. Like many women, she felt entitled.
Be careful.
She felt entitled.
I hope
to
our
make
female viewers are going to give Steve...
No, women are allowed to change their minds. That's what I've been told anyway. But anyway, I thought they were just ruthless. And why would they... Now, here's a person who's making more money for the Republican Party than anybody since Ronald Reagan, and has the communication skills. I mean, the thing about Obama, he's got great communication skills too. And he's really smart. Right. She's not smart, but she's got the personality. And they, you know, she's going to go places whether they want to be your friend or not, but they burned all their bridges with her.
Here's what I would say to close this session. Oh my God, one step away from the presidency.
Well, hey, Ronald Reagan was in the presidency with really not much more intellect than Sarah Palin.
Well, I'm...
Seriously. Well, let's go to one of my favorite shows. I missed the first season. I have to admit, I didn't catch on till the second season. But isn't it fun watching Martin Scorsese do the original gangster story?
I love that show.
Atlantic City story.
Yeah, that show is so good.
I wish, though, I have to tell you, you know, because they wanted a little creative license, they used a lot of real names, but the principal character, Nucky, they changed his name, and they kind of tweaked him a little bit so that they let people know we're not going to tell the real story.
Right.
The real story is good enough. I want the real story, and every time they change a little thing, it kind of annoys me. Like, they've got his red carnation that Nucky always wore,
right,
and they got his Homburg, but in like the opening credits, the Homburg's black, and in the show, the Homburg's gray.
Right.
Nucky only wore a blue Homburg, and there's little things like that where they just, why don't they just stick with the real story? It's good enough, and it's like, people don't realize, everybody thinks that the mob came out of that meeting in upstate New York.
1950.
Came out of Atlantic City. Nucky organized the first syndicate meeting.
Well, I think it came about way before that, but I mean, you're right, it's a great story. I don't think they're all that far off from the real story. To me, it's a toss-up between Boardwalk Empire and The Sopranos. Which was the better organized crime story? Different eras, but both great shows with great acting, incredible acting. The folks who are in Boardwalk Empire, I think, are incredible. They bring the show to life. Same way The Sopranos did.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch the next season. It's just about to start up. And if they're going to tell the story, of course, Nucky ends up in jail.
Absolutely.
Gets out after 5 years and is a pauper.
Yeah.
He goes from the richest guy in America to living at his sister's house.
Yeah. We'll see if they follow the story. They get 2 or 3 more seasons they're going to do. I think they've signed for 2 or 3 more seasons.
How do you go from the biggest political boss of New Jersey to busted out broke in like 2 years? That's the thing. Where did all the money go?
Yeah, I know. Ask Bernie Madoff.
And tonight we have Heads vs. Feds.
A lot of practice doing that, right, dude?